Good evening. You're watching the Urban Debate on Mirror Now. I'm Fida Souza. We're going to take an hour in primetime programming to talk about something very, very important tonight. I cannot stress on how important this is and why we should spend time as a country taking a look at the statistics. India has a total population of tigers of 2,226. That's 60% of the world's tigers that live in India. This year, 70 deaths have been reported so far in the first half of 2017. 70 tiger deaths in just 6 months. 11 tigers have died every month. 14 cases of poaching have been reported. 21 tiger deaths in just 65 days. Most newspapers are now reporting a major poaching racket that was busted on the 27th of July in Pench, in a tiger reserve. In the heart of that tiger reserve, where security for these animals needs to be top priority and no one is allowed in without a permit. Officials have seized 12 kgs of tiger bones, 14 claws with carcasses of 2 tigers. However, our reporters who have now spoken with authorities in Pench tell us that it's suspected it was not 2 but 5 tigers that were killed. They were poached inside the core area. 6 people have been arrested. 2 of them are fishermen who were involved in illegal fishing within the reservoir. Remember, the Supreme Court had banned fishing within the tiger reserve. Was this just a stray incident, or is this the tip of the iceberg? Should we not stop tonight for a second and consider why these magnificent animals, who we're supposed to be protecting right now, whose population we're focusing on actually multiplying, are dwindling? And why is it that it is not top of national conscience? Why haven't we talked about tigers for over a year now? When was the last time we had a national conversation about what is happening with our tigers? We spend so much time in our country at this point worrying about cruelty towards animals. And that cruelty and that entire conversation is invariably focused on only one species, and that species is cattle and the cow. Have we forgotten in this entire battle about the tiger and about our moral responsibility to protect this animal? We've discovered from our investigations that are ongoing right now on the ground that this entire muck runs right up to the top of these states. That there are local fishermen and villagers who are being encouraged to hound and to poach tigers because there's so much to be gained from smuggling and selling their skin, their claws and their teeth. How are these local fisher folk getting these tiger hide, claws and teeth across the border into China? Who's helping them? How deep does this entire corruption run? And are we in our corruption so cold that we're willing to sacrifice our national animal? Are we not going to stand up and say anything? In fact, Mirror Now spoke with a whistleblower forest official who rightfully and understandably wanted his name and his identity revealed, so he was only willing to speak to us on the phone. He revealed the true gravity of this situation, and it's both shocking and disturbing, but how poachers enjoy political backing, which is why poaching has become that much more rampant this year than it was in the previous years. I'm going to play out this entire conversation for you tonight because this is the only thing that will help us understand how deeply worrying this problem really is.
I'm joined on the phone line with a forest official. Thank you, sir, for taking the time out and speaking to Mirror Now. Let me begin by talking to you about the tiger mortality rate. In 2016, 100 tiger deaths were reported. But in 2017, in just the first half of the year, 17 tiger deaths have been reported, just in 6 months. What is the main reason for this? Because there's an alarming rise in the number. What do you think is the main reason for this?
Obviously, there have been more poaching cases which have come to light, but the tiger mortality rate includes those of poaching as well as those who have died of natural causes. And detection rate has been also high this year.
So are you suggesting that had the detection been better last year, then the number could have gone up?
It depends how much you detect on the field. But obviously poaching has been on the rise.
Okay, since you talk of poaching, very recently, the most recent case in point is the case from the 27th of June. There were reports of 2 tigers being killed. The forest officials recovered the remains of 2 tigers, but it is suspected that that as many as 5 tigers could have been killed. So what is the actual number? What is the actual truth regarding this?
The investigations are going on. There has been recovery of surely 2 tiger parts, unique tiger body parts. But then through investigation, it is learned that there are more tigers that have been killed in this last summer. I mean the period 3-4 months. So as the investigations go on, we will be able to reveal more.
How many do you suspect have been killed in this summer? What is your estimate?
It can be anywhere between 2 to 5.
Okay. And so do you think the local villagers are the poachers? Because smuggling a tiger, killing a tiger requires a lot of mechanized assistance. Do you think they had assistance?
In this case, fishermen were involved who are from local villages. And obviously, to dispose of the tiger parts, they need assistance from the people like Bahelias who are organized poachers.
So do you believe these poachers have political backing?
Local people, in this case fishermen, they do have some backing from leaders of their community as well as people around the district. But the organized poachers may not find any fault, but obviously they have backing from China.
Do you believe they are being backed by forest officials? There is, because a lot of these instances have occurred in the core forest area, we gather from our sources. Do you think they have backing from the forest officials?
Nothing can be said until investigations are done. We can't rule anything out, but then such kind of things can only be proved after proper investigation. There have been instances in Assam and other places where certain forest officials were involved. Otherwise, we are going to face problem in the future.
So poaching is a very serious threat, and this may not be restricted to just one area.
No, it is the threat is same all over the country. It has been revealed here in the central part of the country, but it is there everywhere, so it has to be tackled more professionally.
And why do you think there is suddenly a rise in these instances of poaching?
It has got a direct bearing with the increasing in the number of tigers, and tigers are moving out from the forest, and once they are out in the open or maybe in the outside the tiger reserve, so they are open more vulnerable to poaching. So that is one of the main reasons.
Okay, all right. Thank you, sir. Thank you for taking the time out and to Mirror now. Thank you.
Is it perhaps a time for Sher Rakshaks in India to also go around protecting this animal? Because why are we allowing this to happen? How can we as a country sit back and allow the tiger population to be hunted down and sold for parts? Our reporters tell us that in some parts of Nagpur and Madhya Pradesh, tiger cubs are being hunted down. Cubs of 2-3 months being grabbed, slaughtered, chopped up and sold for parts. It is horrendously disturbing today that this is the story that we have to bring to you, but I bring you this story because we have to start talking about tigers again. We've let them slip into the back of our national conscience, and that's just not going to do. Joining me on the show this evening, Anila Singh, spokesperson of the BJP. Praveen Pardeshi is the additional chief secretary in the Chief Minister's office in Madhya Pradesh. Anish Andheria is the president of the Wildlife Conservation Trust. Jaydeep Das is an honorary wildlife warden at Nagpur and the livelihood manager of the Melghat Tiger Reserve. Manish Jeswani is an advocate who fights tiger poaching cases. PK Sen is the executive director of the Ranthambore Foundation and the former director of Project Tiger. Vijay Nishanth is an animal activist and a wildlife rescuer. I'm going to start by asking Anish Andheria, the president of the Wildlife Conservation Trust, to explain to us what's going wrong this year. Why is it that we've had reports of 70 deaths of tigers in 6 months this year? And do you expect that the actual number is a lot higher than this?
Okay, I mean, nothing is going wrong, and what you see now is a product of several years of conservation. So, say if you go back to 1970s, the tiger populations had depleted in a massive way. In the last 10 years, the conservation efforts that have been put inside the tiger reserves have been of good quality. So some of these important tiger reserves and some states have done much better than other states. So Maharashtra, Madhya Pradesh, Karnataka, Uttarakhand and Assam, Tamil Nadu and Kerala. These are states where the tiger populations have gone up. As a result, their prime tiger reserves have got saturated. When there are new cubs and when they grow to adulthood, they have to seek territories. Tigers are highly territorial, and as a result, they then get out of the forest. They get into the fringe. In the fringe of the forest, because of overuse of natural resources by livestock, because India has probably the largest populations of livestock, that forest at the periphery of good quality tiger reserves is degraded. And when a young tiger moves in that area, the tiger invariably feeds on livestock, and that livestock, when it starts getting habituated to it, it causes conflict. As a result, people get involved in it, and many of these deaths have happened during such conflict situations. In India, cattle is also herded, which means there is always people with
Anish,
the cattle.
Forgive me for interrupting
of these cases,
you.
people who are with the cattle have actually gone in and tried to, yes.
But I'm looking at a report in the Times of India dated June 28, 2017, which says that there was a poaching racket exposed where the tigers were poached from inside the core area of Pench. Inside the core area then doesn't mean that they were on the fringes, that they were expanding their territory, that they were entering the territory of either the fisher folk. Fisher folk shouldn't be allowed in Pench. But if it was within the core area, where is the explanation for that? And the forest official we spoke to said that there were cases in Assam where forest officials were hand in glove with poachers.
Yes, so the information that you have about poaching inside the core of tiger reserves is correct, but you must remember that our tiger reserves are not, they don't have a wall around them. It is highly porous, and let me give you an estimation of number of people that live inside the tiger reserve. When I say inside the tiger reserve, is that the tiger reserve is divided into two, the core and the buffer zone. And in the buffer zone of most of our good large tiger reserves with an approximate area of about 800 square kilometers, the population of people is about 100,000. So there are 100,000 people along with their cattle living inside the buffer zones. There is no wall between the buffer zone and the core, and so obviously there are at least 30,000 families living inside the core, and so that is the stat. So when you have a RBI bank which is completely open all the time without much of security, there is always going to be these kind of incidences. So we should not just keep thinking about these one or two stray incidences. What is important is there is no doubt that the protection within the tiger reserves has to go up. However, more important is to utilize the goodwill that the people around the tiger reserves have about the forest, about the water. And so unless we think of a joint management process, these kind of incidences will happen. Poachers of tigers are specialized people. They are not the random villagers that you find. So these poachers take advantage of poverty, and they therefore work with villagers to understand where the tigers are.
All right, I want to bring in PK Sen, Executive Director of the Ranthambore Foundation, former Director of Project Tiger. PK Jain, right now, if you look at the numbers that have come to us, are these concerning to you at all, or do you believe that since the population is rising, that this will be how this will play out?
No, definitely it is my concern as well. Because I have been with the wildlife conservation program for over 50 years, means 5 decades and plus. I was director of the Project Tiger also.
Yes.
The problem, I can count the problems at the moment. You know, we are fighting a war between conservation and development, whereas the people in the helm of the affair must think that these two can go side by side. What is the area of tiger reserves in the country? The total area is not even 50,000 square kilometers. In comparison to that, if we go by the statistics of this country, these 50,000 square kilometers Some are very good tiger reserves, well protected, very good staffing pattern and so on and so forth. But more than 80% of the tiger reserves which have been notified, they have very few number of tigers. Practically there are some tiger reserves which have no tiger. But with the expectation that these were good tiger reserves in earlier days, good tiger habitats in earlier days, so if protection is given to these habitats, tiger will come from outside by migration, by saturation of the existing population, and so on and so forth. But see the condition of this country. What is the strength of staff? We are increasing the tiger habitats in the form of core critical tiger habitat. Now you tell me how many people have been newly added for the protection purpose. The protection is the weakest link in the conservation tiger. Whether you blame a politician, whether you blame a villager, whether you blame a poacher, whether you blame a forest officer. Whether there is a link between forest officer and the poacher is not established yet, because nobody would like to burn his own house. Similarly, the poachers who are villagers, what is the strength, monitoring strength of those villagers? Actually, the poachers from outside or the business community who are dealing in tigers, they come to the villagers to pursue them to hunt in lieu of some big sum of money which the villagers have never seen. And in this situation, villagers are definitely allured to become poachers. Of course, there are one or two communities. But
Mr. Sen, I'm going to ask this question right now. How can we at this point say, because the tigers are leaving the reserve, we worked so hard as a country to increase the population of tigers from 1,400, from 1,400 which they were around like a few years ago to 2,200 which they were last year. Shouldn't we have been prepared for the fallout of what would happen if we increase the number of tigers in the country? I'm going to go to Jaydeep Das, Honorary Wildlife Warden, Nagpur. Jaydeep Das, tell us, a lot of these poaching cases that are being reported are on the border of Maharashtra and Madhya Pradesh. The highest number of tiger deaths are being reported from Maharashtra and Madhya Pradesh. Please tell me why there's been an increase in the number of poaching cases in these areas.
See, this particular belt, which you said the border of Madhya Pradesh and Maharashtra, is a very rich forest belt. And actually, if you see the tiger reserves in this particular belt, from the north, starting from, the fringes of Bandhavgarh, Kanha, then down south, you're coming to the forests of Balaghat. On the other side, there's Satpura, then again Pench, and Pench is connected to Nagzira. So this place is very rich forest belt, and that is why this has a very good landscape for tiger movement also. And as I was just hearing, see, tigers, obviously a core area is a very protected place where the tigers are brought up. I mean, they give birth, but then they spread through these
but the cases happened in the core area. But the cases, Jaydeep Das, the reports say that the poaching is happening inside the core area. So how are poachers going into the core area?
See, in this particular No, see, this is a very typical case to this particular landscape, where there is a reservoir inside the forest, and then there is some illegal fishing going on, and unfortunately these fishermen as per the reports, investigations which are coming in, these were the people who actually did this particular act. But believe me, 90% of, if the poaching which is happening, 90% happens outside the core, as Mr. Anish was saying, and the fringes and the buffer, that is where the 90% of the poaching happened. But obviously we should take care that there should be no poaching inside the core area, and in this case where the fishermen are involved, this is the right time actually to take strict and stringent action against such activity.
But I refuse to believe, and I want to bring in Praveen Pardeshi and then Anila Singh. I refuse to believe that fisher folk living in a core area, first of all, fishing is not allowed in this area. The Supreme Court very clearly outlawed fishing within the tiger reserves. How are fisher folk managing to trap, to murder, to slaughter tigers, to then cut them up and be able to find the pieces that are actually valuable and move them across the border to China. I refuse to believe that a fisher person can do this. They obviously have help from professionals, which means that this is a longer, larger racket. Someone is not telling us the truth. Praveen Pardeshi, who is this who is not telling us the truth? Additional Secretary of the Chief Minister's Office, do you believe we have the whole truth about this?
I think if you hear the truth as told by PK Sen, who is the doyen in this field, or what Anish was speaking, and you know, Jaydeep, who just spoke, is also not a government official. So I really implore you to really understand what's going on in this, in the whole area of tiger conservation. So if you look at just Maharashtra, for example, and Pench, so in 2010 there were 14 tigers as recorded by NTCA. And by 2017, this number has gone up to 44. It's not a small number. In a neighboring area in Tadoba, there were 40 tigers around 2010. That's gone up to 61 today. And that's the story across most of Maharashtra's tiger reserves. Now, why has this happened? And by the way, this has not happened in all the tiger reserves. Please bear with us. So you gave the figure just now of 1400 to 2200. That's right. But you find out where the 2200 are. It's concentrated in hardly 8 or 10 tiger reserves in the country. And of those 8 or 10, 4 of them are in Maharashtra. So this increase in the tiger population happened because more than 25 villages were rehabilitated outside the tiger reserve, making core areas inviolate. In most of the tiger reserves, for example, in Udanti, in Indravati, in Valmiki, in most of the tiger reserves, in large swaths of that 50,000 square kilometers, which PK spoke about, it's hardly a tiger reserve. It's a habitat for people and cattle, and there are hardly any other wildlife. That's not true in Maharashtra's tiger reserves. All the core areas, only in the course of last 4 years, more than 20 villages have been rehabilitated. Then I come to the second point, which PK Sen rightly pointed out, the absence of staff. Around 2010 or 11, the total number of people protecting Tadoba Tiger Reserve was 34. In Pench, it was about 20 or 30. Today, there are more than 500, and all vacancies have been filled up. So while an average tiger reserve has a vacancy position of 50, sometimes in some of the tiger reserves is 60% as per the NTCA figures, Maharashtra, the vacancy position right now is less than 10%. So and then we have added.
Okay, so help me understand this for our entire panel. I'm sorry, help me understand this. Are you telling me that
I'm coming to your point.
This is normal and we should be okay with it, and this 70 tigers death is nothing to worry about? We seem...
No, I'm not coming. No.
I seem to be the only person on this panel concerned about the fact that 70 tigers have died this year.
Let's understand the story. No. We are coming to that, and we want you to help us to point the nation at the right direction, why and how we can stop these 70 tiger deaths. So for that, the first point is that our strategy so far has been something which is called the island of protection strategy, where we have protected tigers in closed islands. But as Anish was pointing out, these tigers flow out of that. But outside, there are a large number of people and there are a lot of livelihood requirements. Now, there we need to have a participatory approach where people benefit from tiger conservation, like through tourism, through other livelihood approaches, so that the tiger and the damage that the tiger sometimes causes to the
Mr. Pardeshi, you are in the Chief Minister's office of Maharashtra. So isn't this something the government should have taken up by now?
Yeah, so I'm coming to your last point of the 70 tiger deaths. Yeah. It doesn't work that way. So, how do we stop these 70 tigers from? So the first point there is that we need to identify the whole value chain, which is going right up to Nepal and Tibet. And Maharashtra is the only state which has arrested and convicted tiger poachers. You tell me which other state where tiger poachers. So that's why there are more tiger poaching cases are coming to light, in the sense that there is a complete freedom to declare tiger poaching, not to hide them, and to convict the poachers, which you can find out, which has happened in the last 5 years. Now, what additional steps we need to take? The additional steps that we need to take is that we need to have some sort of an international agreement. You yourself were talking about how the tigers land up finally in terms of the value in Tibet and in other countries outside, and the high value being attached. So we need to have some sort of an international agreement where the tigers which we are so sorely protecting don't lead up to there. Which comes to my final question, which is the war between development and conservation, which Mr. P.K.
Just put this into perspective,
so
Mr. Pardeshi. I believe in hearing out all of my panelists. If I may for a second, let me put this into perspective. We now live in a country, and I'll bring in Anila Singh at this point. Anila Singh, we live in a country right now where we get so outraged at the thought of a cow being slaughtered that people lose their lives. How is it that we're not outraged about the tiger at all? And here you have government official after government official telling us that they're understaffed, that there isn't enough funds flowing in, that they're not able to actually prosecute, that there is no help. Technically what they're saying is there is no help. Why is it that we are not more outraged? Why is it that saving the tiger is not a priority right now, and our national animal doesn't seem to be a priority? Anila Singh.
We can't say this thing that tiger poaching is not the concern of the government. We can't say this thing at all. Since tiger is a national animal and we are very proud of it, and rather I can say that India has an identity when we say that whenever Bengal tiger is referred outside the country. So you cannot say since we are taking care of cow, we are not taking care of tigers. Like government has taken many milestone steps for the conservation of tiger through the academy, also National Tiger Conservation Academy. But unfortunately, like many of my panelists have already mentioned, the problems which we are facing in today's date, that has to be corrected. And one thing which always bothers me in every case, in every illegal case, whether it is tiger or cow or human, anything, that is the conviction rate. Unfortunately, if we talk about the poaching, the number of years or the fine rate, both are, I think so, they are not up to the mark, and the conviction is very, very low. Somehow, if I say that people or the poachers or the people living around the forest, they are not scared at times. They work hand in glove with the poachers, and perhaps some of the government machinery might be involved in that too. As I was reading on your channel right now, there is a nexus in between the poacher, netas and official. But whoever is involved in it, they should be taken for the task. They should be behind the bars. But unfortunately, yes, the way tigers should be protected in today's date, with so much of effort taken by the government, I don't see a very rosy picture there. It is the point of concern for everyone, including me.
I'm going to bring in Vijay Nishanth. Vijay Nishanth is here. Here's what I'm hearing, that the tiger conservation team or the forest officers, the people who are supposed to protect the animal, are understaffed. The fact that the people who live around the tiger reserve, who should be involved as normal citizens or like villagers, are not being involved right now, and they're actually resorting in poaching. And these things, and these animals, the remains of these animals are being smuggled across the border, into China. Somehow there is this sense of helplessness, like we can't do anything about stopping this, and I find it infuriating.
See, everybody missing. What is the point they're missing is that, like in all the conversation is when you started the program, there is like a officer is giving a statement. What is happening around? So that is very disturbing. Nobody is thinking about that one actually. It's not somebody like from some other part of it coming. That is what you would see. Another case in Karnataka, if you take it, there is a famous tiger called a Prince. Initially, when his face was chopped off, initially they denied it actually, that it is a very normal death and everything. And later on, when the pressure from the activism side and everything, it came. Later on they came to know that like a regular habitual poachers are taken three teeth, and there are a lot of activities happening, and they got a bail or something actually. If you really see all in this case, see last year it's 122 they are saying. This year is almost 70 tigers you are saying it. And in these cases, in 122 cases, they are said actually even they give a poison to the tigers and all. If you see all these things, something is very going wrong. A 10-year highest, last year it is recorded 122, which is the highest, and this year already we have got a 70. And we are like still saying there's nothing has happened. I'm really not understanding what is the panel is saying. The whole statement has come from the forest official. That you have to take a consideration. And whatever the thing is happening, see, it's very like it's going from a border after the border. This is the same thing which is used to happen before also. Now we can't give the reason of that saying that no, like the tigers are increased because of this one and everything. Yes. Because see, the whole 10 years of the conservation, whatever it has given a good name in a conservation field. Now whatever it is happening, it is not giving a good, and it is a dangerous method what is happening. Right. And sometimes you would have seen in the Ustad case, because
right, Vijay, let me just play out this bite one more time, and we're also joined now by Manish Jeswani. He's an advocate who fights tiger poaching cases. I want to play this out. This is a forest official whose name we are not revealing on the channel, who had told us about the fact that poachers have assistance right now, that local fishermen have assistance from political parties, they have assistance from within the forest officials' ranks, that there are people who are aiding this from within the government. Listen in.
And so do you think the local villagers are the poachers? Because smuggling a tiger, killing a tiger requires a lot of mechanized assistance. Do you think they had assistance?
In this case, fishermen were involved who are from local villages, and obviously to dispose of the tiger parts, they need assistance from the people like Bahelias who are organized poachers.
So do you believe these poachers have political backing?
Local people, in this case fishermen, they do have some backing from leaders of their community as well as people around the district. But the organized poachers may not find any support, but obviously they have backing from China.
Do you believe they are being backed by forest officials? There is, because a lot of these instances have occurred in the core forest area, we gather from our sources. Do you think they have backing from the forest officials?
Nothing can be said until investigations are done. We can't rule anything out, but then such kind of things can only be proved after proper investigation. There have been instances in Assam and other places where certain forest officials were involved. And so, otherwise, we are going to face problem in the future.
Manish Jeswani, advocate, joins us from Nagpur. Manish Jeswani, I'm being told repeatedly that this is because of an increase in population of tigers, that we are seeing an increase in the number of deaths. Do you agree?
Number of deaths have been increased. That is correct that you are saying. But I would also like to reiterate one thing, that the number of poaching incidents as far as Melghat is concerned,
yes,
from March 2013, there is no recorded poaching incident in Melghat. And our Melghat Cybercrime Department has nabbed around 150 offenders from last 4 years. So, and one more thing I would like to reiterate. 3 successful conviction rates are there in Melghat. So, poaching incidents have been curbed in Melghat, and as far as other parts of India is concerned, I will restrict myself to comment upon that. But one thing I would like to highlight the aspect, why poachers are again and again committing such acts. What is necessary to create a deterrent effect in the minds of the poachers? In my opinion, is the punishment which is provided under Wildlife Protection Act is very petty one. You see, it is a study, scientific study, that if a tiger is killed, it is said that it affects the 10 human beings, life of 10 human beings. And if we say the proportion of if 10 murders are committed by a person, certainly death penalty is given to them. And when it comes to tiger, you can say it's only 7 years punishment. So what I appeal to the political parties and to the ruling parties to increase this punishment from 7 years to at least life imprisonment. unless and until a deterrent effect will be created in the mind of the poachers, they will not stop and doing such activities. So it is high time that state government should act upon, because you see forest is in the concurrent list of the concurrent list. Even state can amend those laws. It is not that only central government has to amend the law and increase the punishment. Even state government can do so. And I am very distressed to see that there is no political will. Unfortunately or unfortunately, if the tigers would have been able to cast vote.
If the tigers weren't been able to cast votes, there aren't enough of them to make a difference. If the tigers were able to cast votes, Manish, there are only 1,000 tigers, there are only 2,200 tigers. They're not enough to make a political difference.
Yes, you are correct to say that, but at least what I am highlighting the aspect that political will is not sufficient enough. All politics are not united together enough so that we can see the punishment is increased. Unless and until punishment will be increased, the poachers and other like-minded persons will not be demotivated from committing such crimes. And one thing I would like to say from a court, when a conviction was recorded in a case in which notorious Ranjit Singh criminal was involved, only 3 years punishment was granted by the court. I was dealing with the case. Actually, I was just like confused whether I should celebrate or I should get upset by the result. A tiger has been lost and they have got scot-free punishment of only 3 years. So it is mockery of law in fact. So it is very high time that, and I myself have come out of the court and moved to the and gone to various schools and run this signature campaign. And through the participation of kids of 5 lakhs, I requested the state government to increase this punishment from 7 years to life imprisonment. So I will take this platform as an opportunity and request the officials, all the concerns who are watching this show, please, unless and until we will increase this punishment, I am much concerned whether the poaching incidents will be stopped. And
let me bring in Mr. PK Sen. Mr. Sen, do you agree with the fact that the laws are not stringent enough, and do you agree with the fact that these poachers have help from within the system?
No, I don't. No, our laws are quite stringent. I don't agree, because there are so many factors which is encouraging the poachers or the smugglers to take the tiger parts away from this country.
Go ahead, sir.
Unnecessarily, we are trying to blame forest officials, politicians. Just a moment. We are trying to focus on politicians, forest officers, other officials of the government, and even villagers. You see, the basic idea is not that. Tiger conservation has some system. If we talk out of the world, then tiger cannot be conserved. 2,400 can be diminished to 200 in a couple of years, as we have seen in case of Panda and Sariska, that all the tigers were dissipated from the tiger reserves. The objective of the government is something different. But my point is, again, you are talking of Madhya Pradesh and Maharashtra. Now I quote example from the east. One of the oldest tiger reserves, Palamu, has 95% vacancy of the field staff. How do you protect a tiger? Second thing is the corridors which are being destroyed in the name of development. Roads are being widened, high velocity, high speed vehicles are moving from one end to the other. We did not respect anybody's suggestion to protect the Kanha Pench corridor. This NH6, NH7, they are being converted into 4-lane and 6-lane. the most important corridor in the country is Kana and Pench corridor, where the tiger is to move from one end to the other. So many cases of killing of tiger have been reported under the wheels of the trucks. Now they will move at a speed of 80 kilometers per hour or 100 kilometers per hour. Then you can imagine the animals crossing, and only by constructing, the over bridges and under bridges, the adaptability of animal is such that they will not adapt it immediately. You see, there are so many other factors. We have declared definitely 51 tiger reserves, and the core critical tiger habitat, which we are calling core habitat, they have been increased to a large extent, very large extent. I am giving you an example where I am working now. You take the case of Ranthambore. Ranthambore is a very famous tiger reserve and a very good national park, there is no doubt about it. The population of tiger came down to 15, now it is over 60. Breeding is very good. But whether these 60 tigers can be accommodated inside the existing core critical tiger habitat. For developing the core critical tiger habitat, what action we have taken? How we are talking of villagers' participation, people's participation with the forest administration, but what is the technique? Everybody talks of participation, but what is the methodology of it? How are you going to bring people in the conservation field? What impetus they should be given? These things are never recorded anywhere. Only removing villages from the core critical tiger habitat by paying a very handsome 10 lakh rupees per family compensation is not going to solve the problem, because most of the villagers, either they are trying to go back. You can see the case of Rajaji National Park, where the Gujars are coming back with their cattle. They may not have the huts, but the cattle is grazing inside. So what type of relocation is this? And 5 or 10 villages, it is impractical. Total number of villages, if one can shift, which is in very near future, it appears to be practically impossible, because neither government is going to give so much of money, nor all the villagers are trying, because
Anish Andheria,
clause that the villagers have to be shifted.
Anish Andheria, President of the Wildlife Conservation Trust. Is it political will that we are missing right now?
See, that question is difficult to answer in one sentence, because political will state-wise, if you see, it's a current thing. So on a national scale, the political will is a different question, but several states, there is political will, and our organization works in 23 states. So I can say for sure that there are 7 or 8 states where there is political will for conservation, and tiger is merely a symbol. Political will is for forest protection, and tiger is a currency which is used to measure how good the forest is. The fact that the tiger population has gone up, and here I must bring in these statistics for the viewers, that across this planet on earth, there are 13 countries where you have tigers. Of that, 12 countries, if you add the population of tigers in all these countries, there are about 3,200 to maximum 3,500 tigers. Of these, 70%, nearly 70% of all tigers are found in the country which has probably the largest human density on planet Earth. And that is just impossible. So if I can quote that there are some countries, and I am talking about, say, something like Indonesia, the density of people in the areas where tigers were once found is not even 1/10 of India, but they have lost all their tigers. I'm talking about certain parts of Indonesia. But in India, with this kind of density, to have a large carnivore, in fact, that population of tigers that has gone up in the last 10 years is no mean feat. It is almost, and I'm not from government, so as an NGO that works closely with the communities and the government, it is a miracle that such a thing has happened, but there is nothing like a miracle. There is some will in the government. And it is also to do with our culture, the resilience of the people who are sharing their backyards with tigers, leopards and elephants. So there is this umbilical cord between Indians and the forest, and that is why India is still a kind of a big success story on this planet Earth. Let me go on air right now and tell you that if somebody asks me which country on this planet Earth knows conservation, then it is India, because India conserves by default. This is our culture. Now, coming to why these things are happening. When Project Tiger was launched, there were stalwarts. Even Mr. P.K. Singh has played a big role in the way Project Tiger was run in the past. We were primarily looking at protectionism, which means we were only trying to create inviolate spaces for tigers by picking people, throwing them out. That way, we have been successful in building sacrosanct places for tigers, but people have felt alienated. But this conservation arena has also evolved over time, and now I am seeing increasingly the kind of compensation that is given for cattle, the compensation is given for crops. This is in crores, and this several states are now looking at participatory approaches, and it is, again, please understand, this is
all right. So it's good to hear. It's good to hear that there's nothing to worry about. It's good to hear. All right, it's good to hear that there's nothing to worry about, and the poaching racket that has experienced.
Let me take 1 more minute.
Nobody is. Hello.
Vijay, go ahead.
Can I say?
Vijay, go ahead.
Can I say something?
Right.
Yeah, actually.
See, nobody is denying. Nobody is denying the success story of India. Please, sir. With all the respect, I'll ask you. See, nobody is denying the success story of India. But we are wanted to concentrate on the tigers which has already poached. We wanted to reason it. Why we are not understanding? See, nobody is denying the success story.
No.
That is where we are saying all the conservation activities which is done, because of this 14 killed and 67 whatever it is, it will be a blot. Nobody is denying what you are saying. Sir.
So nobody, including people who are listening to us.
The Forest Department has done very good. But what is that? See, 14. Sir, you tell me now. What is the tiger number you're looking at? The poaching goes on, so you will get. That is what I'm asking. A simple question.
So let me answer this in a sentence.
14 already gone.
Through our study and the National Tiger Conservation Authority estimates. Listen, let me give you the reason. Nearly 500 to 700 tigers, adult tigers, are living outside the protected areas in India.
So why?
Out of 2,200 tigers. So
why?
500 to 700 tigers which have... No, listen, because they are living in forest areas. There is no room left in some of these well-protected areas. So if you go to Jharkhand, if you go to Chhattisgarh, if you go to
So are you telling me that the entire plan of the last 1 year, last 10 years of Save the Tiger was let's increase the number, but let's not figure out where these tigers are going to live? Shouldn't that have been part of the plan of increasing the number of tigers, that they are going to expand? That is the behavior of the animal, that they will move out of the core areas. If they do move out of the core areas, which they have done, where will these tigers live? How are we? I still want to, none of you have answered this question convincingly to me. 70 tigers dead this year, which means if this continues, we'll have 140 tigers dead by the end of the year. Is this normal? Are we okay with it? If you tell me, if everybody on this panel puts your hand on your heart and tells me that this is normal and we're okay with it, I will end the show and go home. Because obviously, you people are experts and you think there's nothing to worry about. Tell me there's nothing to worry about. Which of you can tell me there's nothing to worry about?
Hello, yeah, can you hear me?
See, that is the whole debate is all about
very worrisome,
tiger, actually, which has been answered, which is not answered.
Nobody can tell me this. Is it worrying?
So can I just come in on that point about
this
70 tigers
tell me
on poaching?
This is normal.
No, we all condemn this. We all condemn this, and it's very worrisome. But can we come to a solution? No, it's not normal.
No, but if we keep talking about the fact that we've done a fantastic job, which I'm sure we have,
can we come towards the solutions, please?
If we are in denial about the fact
but that is part of the issue. See, the reason is that you're not.
No, let him speak.
Yeah. So basically, what you need to understand, that's very important for this show, is for all the people to really understand where the solution is headed. You are right that the solution is how we can stop the poaching in totality. One of the basic ways to do that is to ensure that tigers and livelihoods come together, not in a conflictual way.
For example, I beg your pardon, Mr. Praveen Pardeshi, I've heard everybody on this panel speak so far. You're talking about these long-term solutions. It is to ensure that poaching cannot happen in the core areas of these places. It's to ensure that the people who are actually caught poaching are dealt severe punishments. Now, please tell me this. No, please tell me this. I've heard everybody out. Please tell me this. How do we live in a country where the punishment for cow slaughter is 10 years and the punishment for poaching a tiger is 3 years? Please explain that to me.
Why did the conviction? You heard your panelists speak. No. Yeah, but before that, you come to the issue of one of the panelists pointed out that the 3 convictions took place only in Maharashtra. So, firstly, there is a complete openness not to hide poaching cases, but to bring them to the fore and get convictions. And all these 3 people are convicted after following an arduous forensic process of linking the DNA to the nails of the people who did the poaching and getting no bails refused over time. So, how do you get to this? That's what I was coming to. We get this when we have an active people support, which we are trying to do by ensuring that in the corridor areas, which Mr. P.K. Swain talked about, there is alternatives for fuel wood like LPG provided, alternative to tiger poaching as a livelihood for Bahelias. Yeah, for Bahelias, for example, there is a livelihood in the form of tiger poaching. We need to get them to become forest guards. That's another thing that we are working on in Maharashtra, that the villages...
How long will that take?
The villagers who are living next to the tiger parks become forest guards, forest watchers.
There is no silver bullet actually. So the answer to your question is that conservation, it has taken 70 years for us to start talking about tigers in this light. And if today this poaching is happening, there is no one silver bullet. They are in open space. I gave you an example of an RBI bank which has no guards and all the money lying. It will take less than 5 minutes for all the money to go. But to still have 500 to 700 tigers is not a joke. So yes, everybody condemns this, but there is no silver bullet quick fix. It will have to be done with livelihood programs.
And it's a slow program.
And there will be failures. So we have to have that. But the fact that we have tiger reserves, we will have a secure tiger population, the breeding population. So tomorrow when we have solid answers to issues outside the parks, they will again get restocked automatically because the breeding populations are there in this country.
All right, we're going to have to wrap up the show right now, but this is where we are. And I'm just going to recap the statistics for our viewers. 70 tigers dead this year, 11 every month this year. Everyone we've spoken to on this panel says, don't worry, it's because the number of tigers are increasing. So it's okay to lose a few more. There's no silver bullet. There are no solid answers. When the tiger population grew and they started to move out of the core area, obviously the people who live around these core areas are going to kill them. We've also discovered that a lot of the poaching is happening within the core area, the core sancto sanctorum where the tiger needs to be kept the safest. None of these stories are adding up. None of these stories are making any sense. We have a lawyer on the panel who's saying that the punishment for the killing and the murder of a tiger is only 3 years, and that too after a very odious hearing and a very odious court case. So it seems like the punishment is not hard enough. There are other people who have told us within the system that forest officials are in cahoots, that political parties are in cahoots with what is going on, which is the only way that a regular fisherman or an ordinary villager will have the equipment he needs to trap and kill a tiger and then smuggle its parts across the border. Something is horribly wrong. And while it does seem like everybody in power at this point seems to be in denial about it, we're going to keep an eye on these numbers, and I still believe it's a number that we should be very worried about. Thanks for watching.